Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 5th. Well, not a whole lot of a surprise. We were kind of looking for just a little bit of back and forth. We came down to the 61, supported on that, hit the ABM yellow up here, kind of stalled out as well. But still, strong move from an MBI reading. The problem you get with that when you get a strong move from magenta and you don't see a whole lot of activity, it just shows you the struggles bulls were having trying to push things through the headwinds, so to speak. From an NQ standpoint, slightly better. And that was the divergence we saw between the two readings. This is a much cleaner bullish setup versus what we see on the S&P. And the resulting effect is, pretty close to the same, but just a little bit stronger. And it's still holding up much better. Everything pointing in the right directions. You got blue above the gray, you got magenta leading, and red clearly above the MBI white, and that still wasn't able to really do much. Got close to piercing we got 10.35, but at this particular stage, not quite holding that. So, still plenty of shorts to help drive things. From a treasury standpoint, continuing to drop in that yield and is going the exact opposite direction. Of course, some are looking at the weakening numbers and thinking the Fed is certainly going to react, and the fact that oil's been dropping. And now we're back down to that original breakout point right back over here that took place in February. So that's a huge relief. The question becomes, why are they having these massive builds? Is it about a production, or is it just not enough buyers? And not enough buyers means a slowing economy. And of course, we look at freight issues and stuff with truckers and that, and you kind of see the struggles that they're having, and sort of intermittent and regional, and the fact that prices keep dropping is just because there aren't that many people requesting loads, and so there's not that demand pressure, and that's an indication that there's some softness. And of course, you hear it from all the retail guys talking about it as well. So does that mean beginnings of a recession have already begun? Are they going to be able to stave it off? Well, I don't. They're going to do whatever they can to juice things, given that it's an election year, so that's always the case. So it's the best case scenario for soft landing, so to speak, is what you would refer to it, because they're going to do whatever they can. Now, is that going to destroy, deficits and stuff like that with spending? Yeah, but they don't seem to care about that. They're not really worried about it when they're spending an extra trillion every 3 months. So it's not really a factor. From a euro standpoint, of course, that's all a bonus, but the eurozone, nonetheless, the same. And of course, if you look at some of the articles that are coming out, you can see the troubles that we were talking about, for quite some time, about banks and holding on to these negative return assets that they're able to mark to current value, even though they're not even close. The number of banks, is like tripled that are considered questionable, at least in the U.S. And so, any additional supply shocks in real estate or anything else, and a lot of those are going to be having a hard time. They're going to have to raise capital some other way, or get absorbed. From a gold standpoint, still holding on, and that's the thing. The reality is that inflation isn't done; it's just taking a break at this particular stage, and that can change in a heartbeat with anything happening in the world scene. And so those are the risks. But then again, whenever there's risk and fear, you always get that up push. The fear trade is usually to the upside when you have mixed conditions like this. From a Bitcoin standpoint, it's going to continue its rally, slowly beginning it. ETH a little bit behind where Bitcoin is starting to move, but that's kind of been the dynamic where one trades off to the other, it catches up, and vice versa, and it keeps going from there. So we can see the much of nothing over the last couple of days here, but we've had some excellent volatility within that nothingness. So all pretty clean from that standpoint. We were talking about this the other day, where we get these peaks of the MBI gray when it gets above that 33 level. When they pivot, it's a matter of waiting for that magenta dip below. In this case, the peak got to here, and the magenta started its decline. That was a little bit shorter one. It popped back up. It did come right back down to it the same, and it's evened out a little bit more at this particular stage, but definitely worth noting simply because it's an easy one to visualize from a trade standpoint. When we look at it from an intraday standpoint, there was just a mediocre move, and then at the market open, we dropped down, but then the buyers all resumed, and then they cleared out that call buying with a nice swift drop, only to drive it right back up. And it's been nothing but rosy here in the post market. Out to the peaks, they dip down, clear out a little bit of the action. So this is like a microcosm of what you see intraday happening in the European session. Not too different, but we're right back to where things were to the plus side. So all fairly clean, and I think that volatility isn't going to stop in any way until there's some kind of clarity as to where things are going, and the more mixed messages there are, which there just seems to be a lot of them. The data is all over the place, and then it's a matter of, can you even trust the data that you're seeing, because a lot of it's so massaged and manipulated. It's always the corrections that seem to give a better understanding of what's taken place, but that's taken place months ago, and that's the whole point of confusing what's really going on. So doesn't really affect us because we're just following where the money goes, and that's what the readings are showing us from the algos. So just continue to do what they're doing. Makes it simple. As always, anything relevant, I'll put on the Skype chat. Have a good one. Trade well.